Meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for request for council action. We only have a few for the Finance Committee. 25107 budget amendments, 25108 bids for job number 1168 Granger Road water line, 25109 easement job number 1168 Granger Road water line, 25110 bids for job number 1165 2025 concrete street repair, 25111 increase PO 2025 1004 right traffic control, 25112 ODNR grant application outdoor fitness equipment area MCRC, 25113 discussion of Weymouth Road State Route 3 ODOT resurfacing project. Next item is 24202 elected official salaries 2026 through 2029. And I know there was a committee set up for this, and I know we had Kathy from our last meeting, Kathy Patton, the clerk of council from our last meeting, send out an email to find out what the public, if we get some public input, of what they would like to see. And we did have some comments come back as far as from different emails. Most of the comments kind of stated that based upon the surrounding salaries of various elected officials, including council, and we did the mayor and the finance director, people were commented to say, yes, these are in line, they looked good, really didn't have any issues with them. Some of the questions dealt with, they didn't know the process that we went through. They kind of asked the question of, well, you should study other jurisdictions, go through and get input. Well, okay, we did that. So we kind of followed what their concerns kind of dealt with. So I'm not sure where we want to go from here. If anybody has any particular questions that they want to ask, or do we want to move forward with it, or what does the council feel? Chet?
Mr. President, yeah, I had a difficult time with the jump in pay for the positions of the finance director and the mayor, in that it jumped $20,000 from 25 to 26. I've got nothing against percentage increases as we go along, but I thought $20,000 at one shot was a lot, and I don't think I could support that.
Okay.
I agree with Chet on that. I'm thinking more along the lines of a COLA raise, but I am adamant that the mayor, again, make more money than the finance director, just because of the role that the mayor has in representing the city and the time and energy that the mayor expends all throughout the year for that entire term. I'm still very adamant about the increase to 1,000 for the council members, so that someone in the future who gets on council and has been on council a long time, like you and Jim, Denny, I know you've been on it for a long time, have that opportunity to get the benefits. I don't need them, I won't need them, but I don't want to take away from someone who has the opportunity to get it later if they should want it.
Mr. President? Oh, sorry. Are we
Yes,
going
ma'am?
down the line, Denny? Was it your turn?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
he
just
said-
agree
he said
with
ditto.
Reggie.
Okay.
So I don't know what that means.
I mean, I understand what Chad and Reggie are saying about the increase, and whatever council wants, I get that, but I think that increase was more of a right crease, not so much an increase. I think it was more of righting the ship and getting it to in line with other mayors of other cities who are of the same size and who have the approximate same, actually, one of the cities had the exact same tax rate as we did. So, I mean, I get that looking as a big jump. I'm looking at it more of as a right-sizing thing. Because then, from then on, it is not a big jump. Nothing, it's cost of living, correct, if I remember that correctly?
Yeah,
After
yes,
that.
2.5%.
After that. So if we want to maybe par that back a little bit, that's fine, but I would like to relook at it again down the road. I mean, if I'm even here, but, that's something. I really just felt that it was more of a righting the ship to keep it going in the right direction. That's what I have to
Paul?
say.
Any thoughts from you?
Okay, yeah, thank you. The mayor was easy. I think we're all in agreement that the mayor should be making more than the finance director. That was part of the reason for the big jump, to fix that situation there. We have the mayor, regardless of tax rate, the mayor is one who's here, 40 hours a week plus, attending all sorts of events here, there, and everywhere. He's the chief spokesman for the city. He or she, excuse me, is the chief salesman for the city. The CEO of a 400 employee company and over $50 million in budget. You go out in the corporate world, you're going to be paying a whole lot more than $110,000-ish, give or take. So I think that's something that, unfortunately, it took us too long to fix, but I think we're fixing it. Council president, I think, is good right where it is. As far as a council member goes, my original proposal was 9,300, or keep it as is till 2027, because that keeps it above the minimum for OPER's calculations, the Ohio Employee, what's it called, retirement system. And then in 28, 9,300 and a year, and then in 29, 94, 80 a year. Those numbers are to keep us at the minimum that OPERS requires for a pension. As far as bumping it up to $1,000 a month, if that's the criteria somebody's using so they can get medical benefits, I don't think I want that person as my council member. I want somebody who doesn't need the job, doesn't need the benefits, doesn't need the paycheck, I should say. I want a representative who's worked in something else and brings that experience to this job and helps guide this ship, helps keep the budget as it is. Let's face it, you look at the experiences you have here. You can't go out and recruit that. Okay, we've got a lot of different experiences. We don't want somebody to put their name in the hopper just because they need $1,000 a month to get medical. And then Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, you need 15 years at that before you're even eligible, or you're not going to get it right off the bat. You have to have an extended period of time in the job.
Yeah, I don't run the retirement system, so I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I know it depends on your age and how much time you have in. So the amount of time you need varies depending on your age.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, but still, you have to be here a long time,
And the other thing is that with the medical, how much your contribution is varies based on your number of years too.
Okay, so you're going to have to contribute to it too.
Right.
Whereas so then we could have a double dipping situation, because okay, use me for example, I worked 48 years in the private sector. 8 of those years I worked here too. Okay, and so I've got medical benefits, if you will, from my employer.
Well,
I don't need anything
Let
from
me
the
just
state.
clarify, because I'm getting a little confused. Keith, the $1,000 a month was more for credit time, not medical? Or what was that? I'm getting confused.
No, going back to the original,
If I may, really quickly, after 5 years, you're entitled to 20%, and that changed in 2015. Okay? So after 5 years, you're vested 20%, and then it increases by a percentage amount up through 15 years, which I believe would be 100%. So it's not
Of
like.
what? When you say vested, medical or vested in
That's
the
that's only
retirement?
for any kind of medical benefits.
Okay,
That's
that's
only to
med-
be eligible for any kind of medical benefits.
Because I was getting confused about 1 year of service equals so, and that's what I was trying to figure out.
Right, it
again.
changed, it used to be 1 year service, it was 20% up to 5 years, and then you just were 100%. They changed it in 2015, that you have to do 5 years before you're eligible for the 20%.
Okay, because I was wondering what the $1,000 was tied to something about years of credit.
the $1,000 is health. So I found the page that this is on. I'm sorry I had to fish through it, but so the monthly, because they listed in OPERS does everything in months. So the monthly requirement to earn a full month credit towards retirement is $721.44. Well, was last year, and then
And
this
that's
year it's
pension.
$734. That's for pension.
Okay.
And then that goes up by 1.75% per year, and these numbers, I don't know that they're 100% guaranteed, but this is what OPERS gave us. So by the time we get to 28 or 29, our salary for our council will be lower than that. and the raise addressed that. The $1,000 is to earn credit towards healthcare. And so there's two different thresholds, the threshold for credit towards pension and then the threshold towards healthcare. As of right now, the threshold for credit towards healthcare is $1,000 a month, and they don't have any currently adopted plan to raise that. The threshold for the pension is, for this year, 25, is $734.07, which works out to $8808.78 annual, and then that does go up by 1.75 per year.
Well, I guess I look at it a little differently. I wasn't looking at this, the $1,000 related to healthcare. I was looking at it as, okay, everybody looked at what all the other communities around us are doing, and we just want to be competitive with that or on the same marker with that. I know what you're saying, Paul, but I didn't look at it like that. I was just thinking, okay, we are a community, we are Medina. How do we stack up to our surrounding communities? Are we in the ball game with them? Or are we, I mean, we want to be kind of the same. We want to be on par with other communities. That's the only reason, that's how I looked at it. So I know what you're saying, Paul, but I didn't look at it like that.
And these numbers are, they keep us in the mid-range. The 9,300 and the 9,480 keeps us in the general mid-range of it.
I guess, does it? I mean, I guess I didn't get that out of that.
It does.
Well, I mean, I gave you with the original request, so
Right.
for council members, and these are 24 numbers because I turned the request in 24, but Strongsville council member is 18,841, Brunswick is 16,089, Wadsworth's 11,000, Worcester's 8,500. So, I mean, I did the two other cities in Medina County and then Strongsville and Worcester, and Worcester's lower, all the rest are higher and some by a considerable amount. For council president, it's a little over 20,000 in Strongsville, it's 17,365 in Brunswick. Medina's is currently 13,776, Wadsworth's 11,660, and Worcester's 9,500. So we are right in the middle there. And then I gave you those numbers for finance director and for mayor as well, where Strongsville, again, is the highlight.
And I was actually looking at it at both things. I really was. Again, I don't need the medical benefits. I'm not going to need them. It's not about me. But, excuse me, I do think we need to be competitive. I do believe that the council president, because they have more responsibilities, should also make more money than their other council members. Excuse me. But yeah, I think we should look at it as being a little bit more competitive with other communities. And I know what some of the council, well, actually all of the council members, because I see everybody here, there, and everywhere, all throughout the year. So, and Paul, if somebody's going to take this job for $1,000 a month, hopefully, well, that's sad. That's really sad because.
Yeah, 'cause they could work at Meyer for 8 hours a week and get $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And not have to be out there in the public eye and responsible for making decisions for the city.
And return phone calls and emails on a, sometimes you don't get an email for a while, and other times you get,
Inundated.
5 in a week. So, it's a hit and miss, but I know council members are extremely busy on the Medina City Council.
And I respect those opinions and thoughts. I just look at this position as something that should be, first of all, let's face it, we're Medina. You can't live in Strongsville and come down here and sit on council.
Right.
Okay, all right. So, from a competitive standpoint, there is none. I've always been of the opinion of that even our representative in Washington should actually do it for free, because they shouldn't be paid at all to represent us. They should be there to do the right thing and not see how they can line their pockets. But that's another story. And that's why I've always been of the opinion to keep the wages low, salaries low for our representatives here. So you get the people who want to be here to give back to the community and give their thoughts, expertise, what have you, on any given situation. And like you say, Reggie, be it the ribbon cuttings, be it the square, be everywhere.
And I think there is a vetting process. It's called an election. And, people know who's running.
And some people can run a good campaign and say
I'm not going to
nothing.
dispute that, but I think in our community, people know who's involved and who really wants to do it versus thinking it's a look-at-me position. I don't look at it as a look-at-me position. I'm here to
And
give
that's
back.
obvious. That's
Yeah.
Well,
obvious the way
let me
you-
throw another wrinkle in this, because I love throwing wrinkles in things.
No.
No, but I guess over the past few years, you think about it, take our pay what it is and take the cost of living, which is inflation, right? I mean, take that. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I think inflation, if you add them up, was about 18, 20%. Is that, am I close?
It's a little high, but yeah, not.
I don't know if I'm
That's
that high.
high.
No, cumulative, I think you're pretty
Human-
close.
Yeah, pretty, so if you take that and take what the salaries are now and multiply it by 18 or 20%, that's,
we are.
you're making the same amount of money, there's no increase in council's pay. I think what we're looking at over the cities is that these cities, maybe they haven't adjusted their salary to base upon, some of them have, it sounds like Strongsville has, it sounds like, it doesn't sound like Worcester and Wadsworth have, because they were way ahead of us years ago, and they're paid in change based upon inflation. They're actually dropping down. So, I mean, there's all kind of factors that go into it. I guess the question is, our job is to look at and ask the community to look at, what do you think is the fair pay for the salary in Medina on these positions? And we sent emails out. That's the last meeting, we sent emails out to the community. Do you guys think this is fair? And overwhelmingly, they said,
Yes.
yes, we do. So what do we do? I mean, I get it. None of us want to raise our own pay. None of us, that's not what we're here for. We're here for stepping back and saying, we're not on council. What do you think is fair for Medina? That's what we're here to do. And we really didn't do it. We went and asked the community, hey, we had a committee set up. This is kind of what they came up with. What do you guys think? And then we have emails, as you guys saw, of what people said. So taking that into consideration, what do we want to do? That's the question.
I think we should go with the recommendation, and I agree with Chet, maybe that huge increase at the beginning is,
Well, council's
But
not
I
increasing,
also-
remember, as far as council members are concerned, none of us here
oh, right, you have to get
get anything because
reelected.
you have to get reelected.
Yep.
Right,
So we get zero,
right.
right?
But moving
So it doesn't go
forward-
into effect for any of us unless we run again
Until
and
after
get
everyone
reelected.
gets
Everybody, yes, that's in 2028.
Right,
Right.
So 3 years, it doesn't affect us.
Right.
Really, because
Right.
3 years from now, everybody have to run again for it to affect you.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a big difference from what we did previously.
right.
What we did previously was, whoever ran first got it.
Right.
But that's not what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as what we've done previously, Keith, correct me, you've been here the same 24 years I've been here. We usually have at least kept it up with what the minimum amount to get a year of credit in the pension.
Correct.
We
We've
fall
kept up.
behind, then we catch
Right.
up, and we haven't worried about the medical part. We've only worried about the
We
year of
talked
credit.
about the medical part a few times before, but the other thing is that as it gets closer, at some point, I mean, it would be silly to pay yourselves $990 a month when the threshold's 1,000. And we've gotten closer and closer because the pension amount keeps getting closer. So I think that's why the committee said, okay, this time maybe it's time to go ahead and pick up that healthcare eligibility too. And I guess just to address Chet's point, you know, we have the same thing with water rate increases. And when I first came in here, we had put off water rate increases, put them off, and then we ended up having these huge water rate increases. And everybody looks at you like, what are you doing? Okay, I think it makes a lot more sense to keep this up year by year as you go along, rather than put it off, and it's the same thing there. I mean, we put off the water rate increases for a long time, and then one year when I was here, we had 2 increases in a year. I think one was 10% and the other was 15.
Right.
And, you know, people all look at you like, what are you doing? Well, it's because we didn't do it for the last 5. And if we would have been just doing 3-4% a year. And that's what we've done ever since, is just kept up with what Avon does, you know, which we have that meeting later this week, by the way, but.
So it sounds to me like everybody's in somewhat of agreement except with Paul.
Well, no, Paul's is just doing what we've done historically, is keeping it at the rate to get a year of credit. That's what the 9,300 and the 9,480 would do, based on what Keith sent us, that keeps us up to date with what a full year credit would be
Yeah.
for the pension.
And if you really look at the medical, and I don't know anybody here that is on council because they think they're gonna be able to get medical, even if you're 100% vested, that doesn't mean you're gonna get medical coverage for free because you spent 20 years on Medina City Council.
Right.
You're probably still gonna be able to go out in the private sector and get a cheaper secondary policy to cover, to extend Medicare than you will be going through the state. I'm pretty sure I'm right
Not that
on
you know. We just-
I wasn't in PRS.
Oh,
I worked for the Cleveland Clinic, and that was a
that's
private.
a different thing.
That's private. But I honestly think from what people that are in public service, that when they do retire, healthcare used to be free. If you had your years of service, whether you're full-time or part-time, you had 25 or 30, 35 years, whatever it was, it used to be your healthcare was totally free, if, because you were vested. That's not the case now, I don't believe. Am I wrong, Mayor?
No, they pay well, it's two things for police and fire. PERS might be a little bit different. I know Jim deals with a lot with the schools, with the different. So with police and fire, for the employee, they pay 75%, and the employee pays 25%, and the spouse, they pay 25%
Right.
and 75%.
I mean, it's still
But-
a good deal.
Yes,
but-
sir. But then when you get Medicare eligible, you must go on Medicare.
Correct.
And then they give you some sort of percentage again for the supplements to
But it's,
Medicare.
my point is not free. So I
Exactly.
don't think that
That's
any of
correct.
us are voting for that we can get medical coverage.
No. Right.
But the pension, I do think, as Reggie and even Chet said, I do think anybody that wants to take on this responsibility should be maybe not compensated at the top, but I agree with at least having a minimal amount of money brought in so that you can get a credit towards.
Which is what Paul
Which is
suggested.
my proposal at 9,300
Now,
for
is that for-
28.
is that
and
for
9,480 at.
2028?
Correct.
That's what that starts
Correct,
at?
it stays the same till, for 26 and 27, and then 9,300 for 2028, and 9,480 for 2029. Okay, and that gives you exactly what you asked for.
Yep,
And that does stay slightly over, because I gave you the numbers for, the annual numbers from OPERS, as long as they don't change their mind.
Yeah.
But the annual numbers that we have from OPERS for 28 is 9279, and then for 29, it's 9941 and change.
Did you say 99?
2028, it's 9279.38,
Okay,
and for 2029, it's 9441.77.
okay, all right. and
So
that-
that's the numbers they've given us, and again, I can't hold them to that. That's
Right.
just what they've told us.
And
So,
and the numbers I'm proposing, you divide them by 12 evenly, rounded it up
yes,
to the next
and
12.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
But just I don't want to weigh in on the numbers that you all are discussing, but just two things I'll share with you. One is, when the Civil Service Commission saw this on the agenda and the request for public input, their input was to do a salary study of civil service commissioners in other cities and see where they align. So that will be forthcoming. Lorene and Kim are working on that as we speak. And then the second thing is, again, for information only, because it's probably not on your radar yet, but this September, we'll be opening up the 4 collective bargaining agreements for the next 3 years. So that's something else that we will need to consider. I just share that for background information.
Yeah, because that'll affect the COLA increases. I think that's where we get them from. Okay, so now that we had all this great discussion, it sounds like, I guess, so, Paul, what was your recommendation again? I got the recommendation for council members, right? That's what we just talked about.
Right.
But is council president the same then?
Yes, whatever is in the proposal here for the council president, finance director, and mayor, those will stay the same. The $12.82 for council president per month, and then the mayor position starting at $108,000, and the finance director starting at $105,000. Those as proposed from the ad hoc committee. Okay, my recommendation is to take the, well, it'd be 12,000 a year for council members and take that to 9,300 for 2028. And then effective January 1st, 2029, 9,480. And that'll keep us in line with what the OPERS has promised Keith.
I don't want to say
Promise.
Yeah,
promised, but
But Chet, can I just ask you one more, then, from what you're saying, though, the 108 and the 105 is what you were struggling with the big jump?
Yes.
Okay.
So what did you suggest on that?
I had that schedule that I distributed in,
Yep.
back in March.
Okay.
It's in there, it's in our package.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we got to come to a consensus, and I think we're still off a consensus. Let's just work on council first. So is everybody on a consensus with council members? And then I guess I'm confused on council president, because I guess, why is there such a big jump for council president then?
Historically, council president's been about 50% more,
It's 150 of council.
right,
Oh, is it?
historically.
Yeah.
Okay, but is it, I guess if it's 150 of council, let's see if that plays
Sell
out.
one of your rental.
I'm just trying to see if you guys did it correctly. 1.5, it's 13, well, it's not 15 then, it's really 13,950.
You're taking 150 of that?
Yeah, taking 150 of those numbers.
What is it, John?
For 9,300 for 2028, I think it's 13,950, and then for 9,480 times.
so we
1.5.
rounded those off to the nearest, so that it divides by 12, because we pay you once a month.
Okay.
That's why, so like the current, the council is 9180, and half again, that would be 13,770. The council president is 13,776, which is just the next number that divides evenly by 12. Right.
But I mean, okay, because you have to change the council president's number here. It's not 1282. I guess that's my point. It's different than that, right? Because it would be whatever Paul mentioned, 9,300 multiplied by 1.5 divided by 12.
And then the nearest divisible by 12.
Correct.
So what is it, 9,300?
Yeah,
So
9,300
it'd be
is,
13,950.
It's like, yeah, I get 13,950, which of course doesn't divide by 12, but it's halfway between, so give $6 more and it will.
so it'll be 13,956.
I think when we looked at this, if I recall correctly, that initial council president was the 1.5 times what the current council is. And I think that we were looking at, if we raise the council salaries to $1,000 a month,
Right.
we didn't think that 1.5, we thought that 1.5 was too big of an increase, because that would be $1,800 a month or $1,800 a year for council president. So we scaled that back by 50%. That's where the 1282 came from, I believe. Not positive, but that's what I think.
But if you keep what Paul's saying and you use the 150%, the numbers still seem like they fall in line. Am I missing
Okay.
something? Because 9,480, Keith, times 150 is 14,220, divide that by 12 is 1185. So that works. Because it's divisible by 12.
But I think that, I think the point here was if you look at the other cities, so
Yep.
in Strongsville, the council president is 18,841, and then the council, or that's a council member, pardon me, council president is 20, so it's an extra 1/9. Obviously ballpark. Brunswick, it's 16 versus 17,3, so it's a pretty small increase. Wadsworth, it's 11 versus 11,660. And Worcester, it's 8,500 versus 9,500. So now, that's not to say there aren't reasons for that, because those cities are set up different. Our council president is a separately elected official who by charter serves on Board of Control, has to come in for those meetings, and serves on some other meetings. And I don't know the charters of Worcester, Wadsworth, Strongsville, et cetera. I mean, their council president may be purely ceremonial, that doesn't really have any additional role. So, right, Wadsworth's a statutory, so that, I mean, maybe that's why, but I think the point that the committee had made, because they had looked, when we had that meeting, they had looked at that comparison that, hey, in the other cities, the bump for council president is not 50%, so that was what they were looking at.
So let's do let's go with what we have first and see what the consensus is. So, right now, the recommendation was 1,000 for council members, 1,282 for council president, beginning in 2028.
Yes.
Now, that has been discussed, that has been sent out to the public, and that's been sent out okay. What I'm hearing, that's the first question, those numbers, do we have, is council okay with those numbers, or are they too high?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with them.
Hi.
Aye.
Which numbers?
The ones that we were given.
Okay, because are we talking about council members and council president?
Yes.
Well,
Because Paul, you feel different about council president than council members, it sounds like.
I agree that the council president should be paid more.
Yes.
Well, I think we all agree on
Everybody
that.
agrees with that. The numbers, I'm just
Okay.
pointing out
I
that right
just-
now,
I just
we have
think-
$1,000 for council members and 1,282 for council president. That's
Mm-hmm.
what was given to us, and that's what we're trying to see.
And that's what the
Is every-
public responded
That's
back
what the
with.
public responded, and right now, we're 3 okays and 2 high, and that's up to you, now it's you.
And I think the council member's too high. I think council president's okay.
You threw another twist in there, I mean, so let's just say, from what I'm hearing right now, it's 3 that are high and 3 that are okay, which is not a very good consensus, right? You don't want one deciding vote. I think we all gotta be on the same page.
So.
Where are you at,
what's
John,
t-
on the council?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I think that I understand what Paul's saying, but we gave it to the public, and the public said,
But I don't think the public's ever going to be mad at us if we go a little bit lower and
no,
still.
no, I agree with you, but I'm just
We're
talking
just
about.
saving them money, that's all.
Well, I mean, if we really wanted to do that, I mean, if we take your
Analogy?
analogy, Paul, that, we just do it for the public, I mean, we should all be at 0.
Yeah.
And that's what Paul wants.
Oh, 0, I don't think Paul wants.
That's, yeah.
Well, and I'm looking at Chet's, if you look at Chet's, because Chet, your council member is pretty similar to what Paul
Yes.
proposed too.
He's a little higher than Paul.
A little bit, but it's closer to Paul than it is to 1,000 a month.
So it is, I mean, he's at 96.70 a month and 98.40 a month, which are a little less, but a little higher than Paul's purely 9,300 and 94.80, right?
Can I ask a question, though, of the people who thought 1,000? Are you more focused on 1,000 keeping us competitive, or are you more focused on 1,000 being for medical? Because if it's medical, we all
Competitive.
agree we're not on here for medical.
Competitive.
Competitive. Yeah, it's, I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, you could probably go out and get a part-time job
and make
and
more.
not have to, have your, be,
So what I'm hearing is
Stuff
the
out.
compromise position is Chet's position, because it's a little higher than Paul's position, but it's not as high as 1,000. So if we all wanted to be on the same page, we would adopt Chet's position, which is 96.70 instead of 1,000, or 9,300, and 98.40 instead of 1,000 and 94.80. It's a little higher than that, but not as high as 1,000. If that was the position, would everybody be agreeable to that?
No, and I'll tell you why. I don't think the council president, I don't think 9840 is.
No, we're not, we're talking council members only right now.
Oh, okay.
We're just talking council members.
Because Chet used the same logic with the council president when I look at his numbers here.
Yes.
So, and I, like you see that, Chet.
Right, he's using the same, but I'm just asking for council members. It's not 1,000, but it's not 9,300. I
that.
mean, so let me go over that
I can
again.
do that, I go to Chet's.
So 9,300 is what Paul said. What Chet says is 96.70.
Another $50 a month-ish. I can do that.
Right, it's another $50 a month. And then instead of 94.80, Paul's position, it's 98.40. So it's a little higher, but it's not 1,000. Is everybody okay with that for council members? It's very close to 1,000, but it's not.
no, I know. I
Okay,
know.
are you okay with that?
9840, is that for council members?
For 2029 and 96.70 for 2028. That's the difference. It's like,
It's
it's
the-
like
if that's what the
$230,
consensus is?
$330 difference and $160 difference. That's the difference. From
I think the
1,000.
people that responded to the survey, after listening to this discussion, would have to be thinking, maybe we should rethink this. We're spending this much time on,
No, we want to do the right thing. and
Yeah.
I
I
understand
wanna be
that,
fiscally
but
responsible
we're-
too, and I
We're
can
quibbling
get that.
over a couple dollars here.
So we're all okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay, so are we all okay with Chet's presentation of what council president would be too? I
Sure.
think we would all be
Yep.
okay with that. Okay, so let's just do that first, and
Reggie, you're okay, because
Yeah, I just know what council president does, and whatever you guys, I'm
Wait, do
good
you
with the
see-
consensus
do you see
of-
though, Chet's
yeah,
for
the
council president? I think it
96,
keeps
it's
the
still
same
higher,
concept.
yeah.
Yeah,
Keeps the 150, one and a
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's, yeah, I'm not doing this for the money, but again, this isn't
Okay,
about
no,
me.
I don't think anybody is. But okay, so let's have a motion then.
Wait, Kathy's raising,
Raise your hand, yes.
Are you going to go with Chet's recommendations for 26 and 27 as well?
No.
No, because we were going to wait so everybody's
So
at the
nobody
same time.
gets the change until 28 still?
Correct.
And we're okay, Keith, right?
Right, because you can't change the people who aren't up in 25 until 28.
Right.
So that was why the committee had recommended that we change everybody in 28 instead. And sometimes in the past, we haven't done that weighting. We've raised some. And it always seems kind of weird that people who are serving on council who do the exact same job, who sit in chairs next to each other, make different amounts of money. It's up to you. You can do that if you want, but you cannot raise the people. Like when Chet says it goes up in 26, it can only go up in 26 for the members who are up, for the
For election.
positions that are up this year.
Got it.
Okay, so Jim's gonna make
So
a motion.
Let me start with council members, so we're all on the same page. So the increase would not take effect until 2028, and in 2028, it would be $9,670, followed by the next year in 2029, $9,840 would be my motion. The one thing I want to add, just to make sure everybody's clear, Keith, what we don't know is what OPERS is going to do in 2030, so we might have to, if any of us are here or who's ever here, needs to probably revisit if we're going to try to keep this concept of making it so you get a year of credit.
Right, because we would need to then talk about in 27, the 29 and beyond salaries to keep everybody in the same page.
Correct.
understood.
Okay, so that was my motion.
And I'll second that.
And hold on, you were 9670 for 28, and then what was it for 29?
9840.
That's what Chet had.
Way to go,
Chet's a
Chet.
numbers guy, so I trust that he divided it by 12 too, so. No,
So I second that. We're gonna
I got
vote.
the two finance people down there.
Wait, wait,
It's
he's trying to make it round numbers.
805.83.
Yeah, that's what I get.
So Jim, you wanna
All right, Keith.
amend your motion?
I will,
The 9840 is divisible by 12, that's $820 a month.
okay, so what do you,
9670 isn't.
Yeah.
What's it need to be?
We bumping it up to 806? Would be 9,672,
And that's 806.
806.
Okay,
okay, I will amend my motion for the 2028 by $2 to make it 9672.
Second.
any further discussion on the council members' salaries commencing in 2028? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, council president, are those divisible by 12?
You want to double check those first, Keith, before I make? The numbers would be in 2028, 14,512, and in 2029, 14,766.
What does the council president make in Brunswick?
No,
Let's
that's
not
not
go
even
there.
either.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to bump that up to 1210 per month.
Yeah, so
So, 1, 2, 10,
And it would be 31.
times 12 is 14,520.
14,520, Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what, okay,
14,520.
14,520, we go up $8 on that one, and then the other one,
72.
1230, 50, so.
So 1231.
14,772.
Okay, I'll make a motion then for council president's salary, starting in 2028 to be 14,520, followed by in 2029, 14,772.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we decreased everybody's pay. So we're okay with that, we're okay. Okay, so now, let's go to the mayor's position and the finance position. So the mayor's position first. So we have a proposal that it seems like, first of all, who's all agreeable to the proposal? It doesn't seem like we have a consensus even close to that.
I had second thoughts after I gave it more thought, that it was, like Chet said, it was a big jump.
And the mayor's current pay is what, 94,
It's 90,
what was that again?
95.5.
95.5.
95,584.
Yeah.
All right, so now you gotta agree upon what numbers does
So-
everybody agree with?
That's not a $20,000 a year jump. That's not a $20,000 jump.
No, there was 12 with the mayor and 8 with the finance director. The 2 positions that were in there, that was 20.
Both positions combined?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's different than, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Or are you talking about Strongsville?
No,
Or
no,
Brunswick.
he just took the two increases, combined them together and make it one.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Okay. I think, yeah, Reggie, you and I had 2 different numbers going into the meeting when we had our ad hoc committee, and you and I talked about it, and we came to the number that we agreed to, the 105.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, the 108, I
108, yeah.
apologize. The 108. Again, when I proposed the numbers, yeah, it's up, you know, a good chunk, but the mayor should be paid more than anybody else in the city, for an elected official wise, okay.
I was going to say, if you want it more than anybody else in the city, you got to go up a lot more than 108.
Yeah, that's why I
I know.
qualified that.
Elected.
Yeah, elected positions, right, okay. As I said before, he's the CEO of 400-plus employee company, manages a budget over $50 million, probably even higher when you throw in everything, all the grants and everything that we get. He should be compensated accordingly. And for too long, the position has been paid less than well, since it came full-time back in, what, 2021? Or 2000,
2002.
2001, something like that? 2002? Okay.
I-
All right, I knew it was a long time, so
So,
I just,
so again, when I left that meeting, and thought about the salaries, I thought, you know, we really need to be in line with COLA. So if you do a 2.5% on the current salary for the mayor, that's 97,000, it's 98,000.
okay.
It's
then
still a
how-
raise in '26.
But how do we fix the
Discrepancy.
the discrepancy between the two
Right,
positions?
right.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not even opposed to going to 100 for the mayor, because I know what the job entails. But,
where does the 108 put us compared to?
So on the thing that I gave you at the beginning, the Strongsville mayor is at 160,
right.
Brunswick's at 133, Worcester is at 86,846,
Those are
but
24 numbers.
these are 24 numbers, because they didn't have 25 when I did this request.
Oh, so you
But pardon me, I do have 25, because they had already been set for Brunswick, which is 135,912, and for Worcester, which is 89,017. Now, Worcester's lower, but they do have a director of administration.
Right, so that's
Who
different.
I
Yeah.
think I don't work in Worcester, so I don't know this, but I'm pretty sure that means the director of administration actually does the job, and the mayor is pretty much more or less ceremonial. And they're paid almost as much as our mayor, who actually does the job. So and then Wadsworth is substantially lower. They're at 53,672, but again, I
They have a
think
different-
the way the city runs is different.
Don't they have a city manager too?
Well, Brunswick does, and the salary that I'm listing here is for the Brunswick city manager, because the Brunswick mayor is actually one of the council members.
Yeah, okay.
So, but yeah, so that's where you're at.
I'm going to say what I said before. I see nothing wrong with these numbers, and I agree with Paul. He is the face of our city, and I think that he should be compensated appropriately. I don't think it's inappropriate to get that salary, to get it back into line to where it needs to be, which is not the highest, and then provide those increases as they go along. I don't think that's inappropriate at all. the median household income in Medina is $94,000 a year. I know somebody suggested to double that, to give that, I know
If that's
someone.
what they meant,
I don't
yeah.
know if that's what they meant, but they suggested to double that, and I'm like, okay, well, we're not doing that. But I don't think that this is out of line with what the expectations are for the position at all. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I agree. I think the mayor should be compensated for the job that he does, or she, whoever it may be.
So
So where do you think it should start?
that's the question, that's what I want to ask.
Okay, just so you understand my math, what I did when I proposed the first numbers is I took the starting wage that was the previous cycle in '21 or whatever that was, and I ran it through the calculator provided by Keith. I don't know if it's the Bureau of Labor
Yeah,
Statistics or something like
BLS.
that. Right, okay. And I just ran, okay, what was it then? What is it now? And that's how I came up with the number. So it's the equivalent of whatever we started the mayor and the finance director with in 2021. It's that equivalent to this. That's how I got that number, so you understand where we are with it. Okay?
So the number, the 108 that you started with is just inflation from '21.
Correct,
So it's not actually an increase, it's just inflation.
correct.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm hearing everybody saying is that the proposal made by the ad hoc committee for the mayor's position, which includes 2.5% increases of cost of living from 26 to 29, is what was submitted for 2026. It's 108,030.
Correct.
Yep.
Are we all good with that?
Yes.
Now, just so you know, Jim and I are running, right?
Right.
So I'm abstaining, he's abstaining,
Right.
because we're both running. So we don't really care which, this is what you guys
Yeah,
recommend.
and I agree with that.
And I will say, John and I both obviously declared we were running long before. We knew what we were getting
Yeah,
into,
no,
so.
no,
just
you
wanted-
you two
Yeah,
had no
whatever.
bearing
Yeah.
Okay.
on this.
All right.
And these are the guys that can do it for free.
I'll make a motion that we accept the numbers as proposed.
Second,
For mayor.
for mayor.
For mayor. All in
Kathy, do you
favor?
know, you got those numbers right? You know what we're talking about? Okay.
All in favor?
Wait, no, there's gotta be a second.
He seconded it.
He did.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he seconded it.
I didn't hear him.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay.
All
Abstentions?
right.
Any
Aye.
abstentions?
Aye.
Aye.
2 abstentions. Okay, now,
Now we go to the finance director. The finance
thing.
position that was proposed for 2026 at 105,196 with 2.5% increases, going through 2029 to 113,308. What does everybody say about that? Are we all still okay with those
Oh, that's the
numbers?
same thing that you did, right? Yeah, this is just a catch-up.
right,
This is just a catch-up.
So everybody's okay with those numbers?
yes.
Any questions, Jeff? No? Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion then for the finance director pay to be increased starting in 2026 as proposed by the ad hoc committee, starting at 105, 196, and continuing thereafter through 2029.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay, we made it through there. Only took us 45 minutes.
56, but who's counting?
Okay, next one is 25-107, budget amendments. The first budget amendment we have is 25-17, which is a
Pass-through of a donation.
donation. Thank you.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2025-18 for the Parks Department.
I know Jansen's not here, but they had damage they've got to replace, so.
Yeah, looks like maintenance and facilities of 4355. Okay,
Move to approve?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2025-19 from the Parks Department, which is maintenance and facilities again of $236.
Yeah, damage done there.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25-108, bids job number 1168 Granger Road Water Line. Patrick?
Thank you. Council might remember in 2024, when we were transferring our Granger water line, the system to the county, we entered an MOU. And one of the things that was spelled out in that MOU was that we were going to replace the water line as it crossed underneath the Rocky River by the water plant. The city and the county are sharing equally in those costs, but this is the project to replace that water line.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 25109, easement job number 1168 Granger Road water line. Patrick?
Thank you. In order to complete that project, the county needs to acquire 2 easements. One of them is actually from us at the water plant. So this is authorization to grant the county an easement for this water line.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25110, bid job number 1165 2025 street, concrete street repair.
Thank you. This is our annual project to replace individual concrete panels across the city. We are ready to move forward with it. I'm asking for the emergency clause. The gentleman in my office that puts this together for us does all the assessments. He was out an extended time for medical leave earlier this year, so we're a little late in getting it out, so we'd like to bid it as soon as we can.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 25111, increase PO 2025-1004 Reagan Parkway pavement rehab. Patrick?
This is the cost for our traffic control. We hired a private firm, Wright Traffic Control, throughout the project. They did a great job. It was longer than we expected, so we have to increase the PO to cover their costs. I would note on a positive note, we are complete with that rehab project, and it came in about $90,000 less than we had budgeted.
Good.
Very good.
Okay.
Move to,
Mr. Chairman?
oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, I drive Reagan Parkway regularly and been there for multiple repair jobs. This was probably the best traffic managed, as opposed to those traffic lights that they had. This reacted immediately, where that
Yeah,
light
this was
just-
difficult. Those lights didn't really apply to this project because it was such a moving work zone. And when you got close to the intersections, that added a whole nother element to it, so we thought they did a good job.
Traffic flowed much better with this. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 25112 was pulled from the agenda since we do no longer qualify for the grant, so Jansen asked that be removed from the agenda. 25113, discussion only with Weymouth Road State Route 3 ODOT resurfacing project. Patrick?
Thank you. We were contacted by ODOT about this resurfacing project with this Weymouth Road between Broadway and Huffman, which is a little unusual. I don't remember ever getting an email contact like this. Usually when ODOT's doing an urban paving project, which is resurfacing state routes in the city, they tell you this is coming in 2 years, 3 years, and your share of it's going to be this much money. Get ready. This time, I included the email. They're asking us whether we'd like to proceed or not. I think we have a couple out. We can agree with them and have it, I think it's fiscal year 27, if I'm right. But anyhow, go along with their plan. We could ask them to delay it if we wanted to, delay it and build up some of the funds. Or if we wanted to, we could just decline. So I thought we should bring it here and have the discussion. I think I would recommend we go ahead with it. It'll never be cheaper to be done. And if we don't agree to it, it just won't get done.
Questions? I think the 108 account has enough funds to do it, and we
Right.
bring in money every year from the 108 account, and Patrick's correct. If we don't do it, it's going to cost more. Okay. We agree, we'll go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else to come before the Finance Committee before we take a motion to recess into executive session? Hearing none?
If not, I'll make a motion to go into executive session at 6:57 PM, 6:55 PM, to consider the purchase of property for public purpose if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the public interest.
Second?
To include the mayor and the law director. Mayor?
Second?
Any discussion? Will clerk please call the roll?
DeSalvo.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing into executive session to discuss what Mr. Shields mentioned, coming back into finance, taking no action of any item discussed in the executive session, adjourning from finance and moving on to council. We are in recess.